Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are talking all about the balloon ladies. Everything you wanted to know and more is in this video. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Susie and this is irunthings. Today I bring you an interview with my friend Lynn. Lynn ran the Dopey Challenge last year. She's gonna run it again in 2023. And she ran the full marathon injured with plantar fasciitis. And subsequently, she was really close to the balloon lady. So she's coming to the channel to talk to us and share her information about how that experience went so that we can learn from it and learn more specifically about how this works, how the balloon ladies work. We're going to answer a lot of your questions. And the questions that came to us on Instagram were, who are the balloon ladies? Can you track them? What's the difference between the balloon ladies and the bike sweepers? When do you get swept? What happens when you do get swept? Do you get your medal if you get swept? Can you walk the whole race and still finish before the balloon ladies? And how does the pacing works? When you start or when they start? So the answer to all those questions is going to be in this interview. Hi, Lynn. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I love your ears, by the way. Mine are like,
thank you. These are my dopey ears.
I know, and you made them. Mine are like bought. They're Amazon bought. They're not even the real Mickey. So thank you for taking the interview.
Of course.
I am super excited to do this because I know there's a lot of people who wonder, what is with the balloon ladies? Where are they? How does it work?
There's a lot of mystique and lore about the balloon ladies. Everyone's like, it's like the Loch Ness monster and the Sasquatch. Everyone kind of wonders what it's really like, So yeah, it's like I said, it's like meeting a bear in the woods and living tail to tail when you run into the balloon ladies, but still finish. So yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. So how many times have you run close to the balloon ladies? Was it only during
only this time?
Only this time. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, normally I've never been worried about the balloon ladies ever. One time, so my friend Maya and I were doing Princess, the fairy tale challenge, and she forgot to submit her time, or I forgot to submit my time. So somehow we ended up in the last corral of the 10K. And so we started in the back corral. And then we stopped to use the restroom, the porta potty, the first mile. And there was a long line. And we're coming out of the porta potties, and I'm like, I think those are the balloon ladies. And I'm like, all right, we need to hurry up. But at that time we were running 10 minute mile paces. So once we saw them, we just kind of hauled ass. And within a mile or two, we had, put quite a distance between us and the balloon ladies. So yeah, normally I've been in better shape. And unfortunately this time with injury, I was, slowed down quite a bit. So
yeah. And I was, so just for context, you did Dopey, and when you reached the marathon, which is when you were close to the balloon ladies, you were injured. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, so I did the 5K, 10K, no problem. Maybe the last mile or two of the half marathon, I had been bothered by plantar fasciitis. That started bothering me, so I kind of walked a little bit during the half, but even with that, I was still miles ahead of the balloon lady. But then, yeah, the marathon, I only made it about 8 miles in, and then my foot just kind of started killing me. So,
right. Yeah. I remember you're on my video stretching. I remember that.
Oh my God. I watched the video. I was so miserable that morning. You're all excited. Yeah, we're doing a marathon. And I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah, but I was fresh because I was only running the marathon.
But I was just kind of it was already bothering me from the day before. And I was just kind of oh my God, I got to run a whole marathon on this. I was not the happiest of campers that morning.
Right. All that is great for context. And now we're going to talk about who are the balloon ladies.
Okay. So yeah. So the mystique about the dreaded balloon ladies, they're volunteers from a local running company in Orlando. There's usually 3 of them. The year I did it, one of them dropped out about mile 20, but there's usually 3 of them. They carry a big helium balloon, the one with the Mickey inside of it. And the reason they do that is so that way you can see in a distance, if you look, over the sea of runners, if you see a balloon sticking up, you know that they're close. And what they do is they keep the 16 minute per mile pace that is the sweep. So if you get behind them, then you need to be worried that you're going to get swept. So yeah, so they're very nice. I have a friend who actually knows one of the balloon ladies, and she said that sometimes people are not too nice to the balloon ladies. They're a little nasty to them. And like, they're so lovely. They're so nice. Don't be mean to the balloon ladies. Be nice to the balloon ladies. They're only there to help you. They're only there to try to motivate you. And so you don't get swept. So there's two things to worry about. There's the balloon ladies who just keep the pace, but they're not the ones who actually sweep you off the course. Then there's a timekeeper and there's bike sweepers. So there's guys on bikes. They're medical. In case you have any medical emergencies, but they're the actual, doomsday scenario. They're the ones who are going to actually sweep you off the course. And then there's an official timekeeper at certain sweep points that will be keeping the time. And he's the one who says, like, all right, pull them off. And once he says that, then the bike sweepers jump in and, no mercy.
So do you get any kind of warning? Like, what if you're like
Yes.
really struggling? Because sometimes I'm in my own head and I'm not keeping track of, I just want to finish that.
Yeah.
If I'm not keeping track of even my surroundings, I might not. So do you know they're coming behind you? Like, do they give you any warning?
So if you want to track them, I believe there's a Twitter account called Balloon Ladies Tracker, and they usually will post the Balloon Ladies bib number in the morning. So the benefit to that is the biggest thing is you can see when the Balloon Ladies start. So I think one question I get a lot with people is what is the official time? Is it from when you start the race, or is it from so basically the 16-minute per mile pace, which is 3.5 hours for the half and 7 hours for the full, starts when the Balloon Ladies cross the start line. They start dead last. So when they start, that's when the time starts ticking off. So you get a little bit of cushion if you're further up in the corrals. So if you're in a higher corral, you're going to get a little bit more cushion. If you're in the last corral, usually people who are in the last corral get there very early in the morning at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning so they can get to the front of the corral. The other corrals, most people aren't so concerned about the balloon ladies, but people are there very early in the morning if you're in the last corral because they want to be as close to the front. It might buy them an extra 5 or 10 minutes from when they start. But I wouldn't rely on that because the year we did it last year, because of the heat, they actually started all the corrals very quickly. Like normally it takes about 30 or 40 minutes to get all the marathon corrals off. And they had I think the balloon ladies started within 20 minutes or 25 minutes of the start of the race because they were worried about the heat. So they wanted everybody started as soon as possible. So I wouldn't count on a cushion, try to train for the pace. Yeah. So basically the clock starts ticking when they cross the start line. So you can track the balloon ladies on the Disney tracking app if you get their bib number. And you can at least see what time of day they start. So that way you can kind of track, when the finish cutoff is going to be based on, 3 hours from that or 3.5 hours or 7 hours from that. You also, I think they give you updates like at like 10K, half, there's a couple along the way. So you can kind of see how far behind you they are, so like for me, when I crossed the half marathon point, I could see that they were only, 10 minutes or 8 minutes behind me. So, I was obviously nervous that they were going to catch up to me at that point. Yes, you can kind of do that. But the main thing is, you'll know the balloon ladies are coming because everybody behind you was running, like all of a sudden, if like you just see a wave of people like hustling, like, oh my God, like it probably means the balloon ladies are close. Yeah. So let me explain how it worked for me. So with, like I said, around mile 8, I was doing intervals for this race. But around mile 8, my foot just kind of gave out. So I started walking. So they walk the whole race and they walk at a 16-minute per mile pace. But a 16-minute per mile pace walk is not like a leisurely stroll. It is a power walk. Like it is, you definitely have to be trained, like it's not, people think like, oh, well, the balloon ladies walk, I could just walk the whole thing. You have to train to walk that fast. Like it's tough. I've been actually trying on my lunch breaks in the Central Park. I'll do like a loop of Lower Central Park and I try to walk the balloon ladies pace. And it's tough, like to not actually jog and walk that pace it's a tough pace to keep up with. So yeah, so me walking is like a 17 or 18-minute pace. So I could tell that, and I was only doing maybe a 15-minute pace when I was run walking. So I'm like mile 8, like I'm, minute or two behind pace now. So they're going to catch up to me at some point. So yeah, around mile 15, yeah, that's when I started seeing the panic of people running. Oh my God, the balloon ladies are coming. The balloon ladies are coming kind of thing, like run, and then at some point I turned around and I could see the balloon behind me. And I was like, all right, like they're close. Like there's no way I'm outrunning them at this point. So yeah, what'll happen is there are certain spots where you get swept. Generally, you'll see a bus on the side of the road, and that's where you're going to get swept. So what they'll do, there's bike sweepers along the course, and they kind of start warning you, like, hurry up, the balloon ladies are a minute behind you. The balloon ladies are 2 minutes behind you. Keep your pace up. So you'll kind of see, if you're getting, if you're a little bit, because some people you can actually fall behind the balloon ladies. You just have to be in front of them when you pass the sweep spot. So there's the timekeeper is usually standing in front of a bus. And when you pass him, you have to be in front of the balloon lady. So, what'll happen is if you're a little bit behind the balloon ladies, like bike sweepers will come up behind you and be like, you gotta, you're move, then they'll tell them you're 30 seconds behind pace. You're 40 seconds behind pace. You're a minute behind pace. And they'll kind of warn you and try to motivate you to keep moving. If you're in front of them, it's more so you kind of got to just see that they're coming at you, So
the timekeepers, are they easily identifiable?
It's one guy, I think. I think it's the same guy. He just rides his bike from spot to spot, and you'll hear him. He's very loud. Like, you definitely know he is the timekeeper, and he'll say, like, you have, you 2 minutes until you get swept. You have 1 minute till you get swept, like, he's very loud. So you can definitely tell that, who's the timekeeper.
Because when we were running, my friend Tristan and I were running, we saw the buses. And he told me these are the buses that sweep people. Yeah. So the buses are comfortable. That's the first thing that surprised me. It's coach buses. It's not,
Yeah, they're nice buses.
Yeah.
Well, that's the funny thing. So the balloon ladies, I got caught up. They caught me around mile 16 or 17. So right coming into Animal Kingdom, there was a bus, and the balloon ladies were maybe like 30 seconds behind me. And part of me was almost like, all right, just get on the bus. Like, you're not going to outrun them the rest of this race. Like, but then I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to at least, so the thing with being swept too is you're only going to get swept when you're on like the highways. So you're not going to get swept when you're in a park because they can't get the bus in the park. So, but as soon as you get out of the park, that's where you're going to get swept. So I figured, let me at least get into Animal Kingdom. I'll walk through Animal Kingdom and then get swept when I get out of Animal Kingdom. So yeah, so going in, there's the bus. The balloon ladies were like 30 seconds, 40 seconds behind me. So then they caught up with me in Animal Kingdom, and I really tried to walk with them for, maybe a few minutes. And then I kind of they passed me. And it was funny because at that point I had like needed to pee for probably like the last like 5 miles, but I didn't dare stop to use the bathroom because I'm like, that's like time on your pace. And so once they swept me, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go. I was right by a bathroom. I'm like, I'm going to go into the restroom, go to the bathroom, and then walk out. And then I'll get on the bus when I come out of Animal Kingdom. But when I came out of the bathroom, there was a bike sweeper there. And she's like, all right, you just got passed by the balloon ladies, but don't worry, they're right around the corner. You got this. Just run. You can catch up with them. And there was something about her energy that I was like, yeah, I can do this. So I like started running. And sure enough, I ran and caught up with them. And I managed to put a good 2 or 3 minutes ahead of them coming out of Animal Kingdom. So I was actually ahead of them. And then, so there's a sweep out of Animal Kingdom. I think that's like around mile 18 or 19. And sure enough, like behind me, I could see the balloon ladies coming. And you heard like, so there's a lot of bike sweepers, but they're all like cheering, like for the people who are close to the balloon ladies or behind the balloon ladies, like, come on, you can do it. Like, go, try to motivate everybody to like hustle and get in front of them. And then, so I managed to make it, I was still in front of them for that sweep. And then somewhere between mile 19 and 20, they passed me again. And I kind of like, I think I probably had like this dejected look on my face of like, oh, now I'm going to get swept, And they're kind of like, all right, I'm going to get swept, whatever. But it was also like, I'm at mile like 20, like, I can't believe I'm getting swept. Like I'm close to the finish, But so a bike sweeper came up next to me and he's like, no, just relax. He's like, keep them in your sights. He's like, just keep walking your pace. He's like, keep them in your sights. And he's like, when you see a bus on the side of the road, you see that bus, that's where the sweep is. So he's like, when you see the bus, he's like, if you have it in you, run and see if you can catch up with them. And he's like, you only have to be in front of them when you cross the bus. As soon as you pass the bus, you can start walking again. And that's basically what I did. So the next bus I saw, I ran and I caught up with them, and I got in front of them and then started walking as soon as I crossed the bus. And they leave you alone if you're behind this, you know, if you're past the sweep spot, even if you get behind the balloon ladies, until the next bus, and then ran again and caught up with them. Yeah. But so then what happens is when you do fall behind them, so there's a spot and the timekeeper is there and he'll say time. And basically what happens is the bikers, like 2 or 3 bikes will cross the street and block it off completely. Like there's no mercy. If you are behind the sweep, there's no negotiating. Oh, but I was so close. Nope. Like, because at one point coming into, Hollywood Studios. So it's like mile 21, 22, something like that. I was literally the last person to make it before the sweep. Like I was literally in step with the balloon ladies, and there was a woman maybe 3 steps behind me, like not much. Like I could probably touch her if I reached my arm out, and she got swept and I didn't. Like they were like, I'm in line with them and she is 3 feet behind them, and too bad. Like, and I just I turned around and she had the saddest look on her face, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, but yeah, so they're very like the balloon ladies, the bike supers, they're very nice, they're very encouraging. You know, they're not like some Disney villain in a cape on the side of the road, like, whoa, how many runners will I get today? You know, like they really want you to, to finish. But if you fall behind, like there is no mercy. Like you're getting on the bus and they take you to the finish line. But they're very nice about that too. They're like, don't worry, we'll take you to the finish line. You'll still get your medal. So you get your medal for the race you're doing, but you don't get any challenge medals. So like if it was the full, you get the marathon medal, but you don't get the dopey or the goofy medal.
Oh, wow.
You get swept.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that was kind of motivating me because I was like, oh, the medals are so pretty.
I know. And you pay so much money.
I know. Because I was like, oh, let's get the marathon medal. But then I was like, oh, but the dopey one is so cute.
Wow. So then is there a point after which you can finish for sure?
So for the half marathon, I believe it's once there's a point where you go down the highway, you go like around like the overpass, and then you turn and go into the back lot of Epcot. I think the last sweep is like right before that back lot of Epcot. Once you are in Epcot, I don't think you get swept past that. So it's like mile 12 on the half. On the full, so there's, so it was interesting when I was coming into Hollywood Studios, there was a woman who like tripped over the curb. And at first we thought she just kind of tripped. And then she had like looked up and her eyes were rolling back in her head. And I realized she tripped because she's like dehydrated and has like heat stroke. So me and this other woman grabbed her before she like fell over. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is why I'm going to get swept, so I just like screamed out. I was like, medical. And like one of the bike sweepers came over right away. And he's like, we got her. Like the two of them came over. They're like, we got her. He's like, go, don't lose the balloon ladies. He's like, there's another sweep outside Hollywood Studios. He's like, you got to catch them. So sure enough, I like start running after the balloon ladies. So yeah, when you come out of Hollywood Studios where the Skyliner is, there's a bus there. That is the day I ran it. That seemed like the last hard, fast sweep of where you were definitely getting swept. So once you're on that little sidewalk going into boardwalk,
there's no space there. Yeah.
So it's like mile 23. Technically, there is a sweep at Epcot on the other side of the Skyliner. And I have heard people saying they got swept in Epcot. So I'm assuming that's where they got swept, that right by the Skyliner in Epcot. The day I ran it, I didn't see them sweeping anybody at Epcot because there were a couple of people who got a little bit behind the balloon lady at that point, and they kind of just let them keep going. So in theory, if you can make it to like mile 23, you're probably okay, so you have a little bit of a cushion because but I ended up, when you start going around the World Showcase in Epcot, I fell a little bit behind the balloon ladies. So I ended up finishing like a minute or two behind them, because people were asking that. They're like, but I see the balloon ladies finish. And then I always see people behind them. And it's like, well, because they probably fell behind in Epcot and then they let you finish at that point. Right. The main reason why they sweep is because they need to get people off the highway so they can open the roads back up so people can get to the parks and whatnot. So that's the reason why they're hard on sweeping. Once you're in the parks and you're not like obstructing traffic, they're a little bit more lenient, I think.
Right. So how many people finished after you? Is it like a large amount of people?
It was a decent amount. It was probably like, it had to be at least probably like 20 or 30. Okay. It's a decent amount. Like at the end, like you'll definitely see like there's a big pack of people. Like every sweep, like a couple more people get picked off, maybe like 5 or 10 every sweep get picked off. But yeah, the balloon ladies will have like a pack of like 20 people around them, where everybody's just trying to keep up with them. So, more people fall behind the balloon ladies catch up to more and more people as they go along. And then more people actually fall behind and get picked off. So their pack will kind of, fluctuate depending on, how many people got picked off at the last sweep and how many people, kind of caught up to them.
What happens? I don't know if you're aware of this, if you know, but if they put you on a bus,
yes.
Do they take you to the finish line?
Yes.
Yeah. So they drive you directly there.
They drive you to the finish line, yeah, because it was very hot that day. So there were a couple people who were getting a little, feeling a little dizzy. And basically the bike sweepers were telling them don't worry, you did a good job. Just we'll take you to the finish line. You'll still get your medal. So apparently what they do is they drop them off. Like there's that last little 100 meters like dash into I think they drop you off there and actually let you cross the finish line and then get your medal.
Oh, wow. That is because honestly, that finish line is so epic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just that last when you turn and you see the finish line, I'm just getting chills thinking about it. It's a cool, and there's so many people. Like I was surprised at how many people are at the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people there. So
that makes that. And then you have Mickey and Minnie or whatever Mickey and Minnie.
Or Goofy or whoever's there at the finish line.
Yeah, they're up there dancing with the music loud and everything. And the announcers are like really, really cool. They say your name. Yeah. If you're lucky, if you're not with a lot of other runners, they actually say your name.
You finish it too big of a pack, you won't get your name.
Then they can't.
Yourself, you're like, Susie from New Jersey or whatever,
Yeah. With me, they had me as, I don't know why, like from Spain.
Oh, they had you from Spain, right?
So they read my name because I was probably one of the few runners from Spain. Because it was a year in which people could not fly into the United States so there were a lot of American runners, not people from other places. But yeah, they had me as from Spain. So they said my name and they said from Spain. And it was so cool. So one of the questions actually I got asked on Instagram is, are they nice? Like, do they talk to you, the balloon ladies?
The balloon ladies are so nice. Like they'll try to give you tips on, how to, mind your pace or whatnot. Like, they chat with everybody the whole time. Like they're very lovely. Like that's, people always like talk about these like dreaded balloon ladies, but the balloon ladies themselves are super nice. Like they are only there to help you finish. They are just there to encourage you. They're really nice.
So do they go together? These other races I've run with the pacers of a certain, speed. Mm-hmm. And sometimes if they have two pacers, like in New York City Marathon, they had two pacers. I think I was running with like the 4:30. And they had, one of them was ahead and the other one was behind. So they were running the same pace.
They're right next to each other.
Okay.
They stay exactly in step. Because like I said, they're the pace. I think that happens in New York sometimes because they start in different corrals, different pacers. But these guys, they're the last ones to cross the finish line. So their pace is the end pace. So the three of them stick together. Like I said, one of them dropped out like around mile 20 something. So she just got tired, I think, or something was bothering her. So she dropped out. So the other two finished. But yeah, usually the three of them kind of stick together.
So you could, in theory, if you're like in one of the earlier corrals, you could go slower and then they could catch up to you and then you could finish with them. But you would have to speed up at the end. As long as you're going with them.
Well, that's what happened with me. I started in the third corral. So I had some cushion, so people ask, obviously you start a higher corral, you have a little bit more cushion. And, people always ask, one thing I found sometimes I've seen people post on as far as the pace goes. The pace is when the clock starts. I've seen people say like, I was keeping a 60-minute per mile pace, but then I stopped my watch to go to the bathroom. And it's like, there's no stopping the clock. Like once the clock starts, you have to include your bathroom breaks, your photo ops, all that into your pace. So, if you're a slower runner, you're not going to be able to stop for like 10 characters because you're just, you're going to get swept, so if you start earlier, so that's what happened to me. I started earlier. I was on pace with them for a while, and then I fell behind their pace, and then I was able to catch up with them, and then they caught up with me, but then I was able to keep their pace for like the last 10, because I got past at mile 16. So it was the last 10 miles. I had to then speed up. So from mile 1 to 8, I was slightly ahead of their pace. 8 to 16, I fell behind their pace. And then once they caught me, I had to then keep their pace to not get swept. So,
well, I think you did something extraordinary because plantar fasciitis, I've never had it, but I've heard it's super painful. So
yeah, it wasn't too fun, but
I'm sure you were in a lot of pain.
I guess like the one good thing about it is like every time you fear you get swept, you get like a little adrenaline boost, which kind of like takes the edge off the pain for a few seconds. You just get that little endorphin rush, so.
And you live to tell the tale. So
yeah, so not many people, meet the balloon ladies and still live to tell the tale, make it all the way to the tale. I was proud of myself for that I at least, I stayed ahead of them. So
yeah. And you were not so far. The funny thing is you were not so far behind me because I was running out of battery and I texted you.
Right.
I think you were like 30 minutes behind me or something like that.
Right. Remember, because you texted me, I was at like mile 23 and you're like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm literally finishing with the blue ladies. Like, the blue ladies are right next to me, but I'm gonna finish.
I was like, I can't wait for you. I'm running out of battery. And there's so many people at the end. It's like, I'm not gonna be able to find you because I'm running out of battery.
Yeah. So like I said, a lot of people ask, can you walk the whole thing? You can walk it. The balloon ladies only walk. They do not run. They don't do a run walk. They strictly do a walk. But like I said, it's very vigorous. It's a power walk. Like, it's funny because I had posted after this kind of because I was like, a lot of people have questions about the balloon ladies. So let me give you some, like what kind of happens when you're near the balloon ladies. And I was saying like, I just can't walk that fast, and an older gentleman kind of commented and he said like, you have to like swing your arms like you're running, even though you're walking. To get to move that fast. And that was actually a very good tip because I've tried that and I can walk the 16-minute per mile pace but it's a power walk. Like you have to think about the fact that it's not like a stroll in the park. Like it's tough, if you're planning to do this and you haven't done it, you definitely need to train to keep that pace,
Right. There are people who power walk really fast.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I have a friend who, when she's walking, sometimes I'm jogging. I'm struggling to keep up with her. Like, she's like a very fast walker, like, because we used to do intervals and then she would joke. She's like, I feel like I'm almost be faster if I just walk the whole thing, and because she walks really fast, but, yeah. But it's like, you have to, I mean, I always thought I walk fast because people like in New York complain that I walk, like when friends come to visit, they're always like, I'm walking so fast, they can't keep up with me. So I felt like, I could walk to keep up with the balloon ladies, but no, it's a fast pace to have to walk that.
And it's continued as well.
Anyway, I've done Dopey twice now. The last time I did it, obviously I was in much better shape. I was better trained. I think I had just done the New York City Marathon in like 4:45 earlier the year, a few months before. But even with that, we decided to do intervals just because, the distance on top of each other, which it felt like at that time, it felt really funny. We did 4-minute run to 1-minute walk. And I remember like taking walk breaks during the 5K felt funny because at that time, like I could run a 5K in, like 27 or to 30 minutes, and like, no problem. But we did the 4 minutes to 1-minute walk. And it really does help. Like it's, like it definitely saves your legs. You definitely feel better the next day going into the next race with intervals. So like I highly recommend intervals. I think that's the best way to kind of keep yourself going, especially for something like Dopey.
So you're doing it again this year?
I feel like I want redemption.
You'll get it.
I want to have a better race this year. I want to get back to my regular pace. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
And I'm going to do the marathon with you. And I'm super excited. You're training for London right now?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing London in October. So I'm training now for London. And then I'm actually doing the St. Jude's Marathon in December, which is a month before Dopey. So I'll just keep training for that. And then I should hopefully stay trained for...
You only need to keep the biscuits warm. at that point, because I did New York City and then I did the marathon in Disney, and it's just, you just need to keep the momentum.
Yeah. I mean, and also besides just, my foot hurting, like, I gained some COVID weight and not having races for 2 years. My pace was definitely slower than it's been in the past, so the goal is to get back to that pace, if not by London, definitely by St. Jude. So that way, Dopey, same thing. I can do, some easy intervals and, finish. Like, I never run Disney to like get a good time, like even when I was running like, 2:05 half marathons, my Disney half marathons would always be like 3 hours because like I stopped and took a lot of pictures, there were characters,
Right.
So I never do it for time, but I like to be able to have that cushion that like, if I want to stop for 5 characters, I can, if you're, if you're not the fastest runner, be strategic with your character stops, because you're only going to maybe get 1 or 2 of them, because you can lose an easy 5-10 minutes waiting for a character. Sometimes I've seen lines that are 25 minutes long sometimes. You have to consider that in your pace, because if you're waiting for 20 minutes for a character, over the course of a marathon, it's almost an extra minute per pace per mile.
Right.
So, yeah, my advice would be not to stop for the early characters. One, the lines are always longer for the first couple of characters, because most people stop, and then after people get a couple, they don't stop for every character. But also, yeah, I'd say get ahead, make sure you have a solid pace. And then if you have wiggle room, then stop for a few characters,
Right.
If you actually want to get a lot of character pictures and you run faster than the 16-minute per mile pace, is you should start in the back by the balloon ladies, because once the balloon ladies are close, nobody is stopping for characters. So all the character lines are bare. So like, if you could like take a picture and then like run and get ahead of the balloon ladies, like actually starting the back's not a bad idea, because there's nobody stopping. Like nobody is dare wasting a second, and then that's going to cause them to be swept, so like,
that's a strategy as well. Like you can start all the way at the back, and if you know that you can maintain a pace where you're not going to get swept, it's a great strategy for any marathon, because then there's more space. Like people,
people kind of thinned out a little bit. Yeah, because it's funny, because there were a couple like couples where like, either one of them was struggling, and then the other one was like a more seasoned marathoner. So you could see a few of them were like, the one who was the seasoned runner would kind of run up ahead and take pictures with the characters, and then like get, catch back up to whoever they were pacing. Because there was like no lines for the characters. Like the characters were like bored, because like by that point, everybody is just like all, just trying to stay ahead of the blue ladies. That's another way you can know the blue ladies are coming, because the character lines just thin out completely. So.
Very cool. So one of the questions that we got was, would you like to be a balloon lady?
I don't think so. It's a lot of stress. Like you have to keep that pace, and people are not that nice to them all the time. Like there's a lot of people who say kind of nasty things, so which I don't get. Like they're only there to help you, so I don't know if I'd want to be a balloon lady. Some people, I think I've seen people say like, oh, maybe I could volunteer to be a balloon lady because that way you don't get swept. And it's like, no. Like you have to keep the pace. It's not like the balloon ladies just finish whenever they want to finish, and like then they're the pace. Like it's the 16-minute per mile pace, which is like, and they are dead on with that pace, because at one point I think they were like 30 seconds ahead of pace, and the timekeeper held them up and said like, oh, you're a little bit ahead of pace. Because at one point I was like struggling to keep up with them, but then the guy says, oh, you're 30 seconds ahead. So he's like, hold up. So he held them at the spot for 30 seconds, and I was able to get ahead of them. I think that was like when I was going into the parking lot at Blizzard Beach. They were a little bit ahead of pace, so he stopped them. And then at one point they were like 10 seconds behind pace, and the timekeeper was like, you're 10 seconds behind pace, and like made them kind of
oh wow, so it's really stressful then.
Yeah, so they expect them to be on pace to like the second. Like, but I mean, I guess they do it. I mean, they've been doing it for years. I did my first Disney race, I think in 2012 or 2013, and I think it was the same. It's like, and I think it's the same balloon ladies every race. Like, I think there's a couple that on occasion switch out, but for the most part, it's the same ladies. So they do marathon weekend, princess weekend. They do like. And they do all the races for the weekend. So, a lot of people ask, so the 5K, there is no blue ladies because there's no time for the 5K is not time. But I've heard things online that after like 2 hours, they try to like start moving people along. There's no hard and fast sweep, but yeah, like, and because with the 5K, apparently sometimes the character lines can be like 45 minutes long because a lot of people do it with their kids. So like everybody's stopping for characters. It was fun. One year I did the 5K. I was in the first corral. Like that's when I was in really good shape. And then somehow I ended up like literally like on the start line. I managed to get all the way to the front of that corral. And so I literally like started at the start of the race. And also like a lot of people who start in like corral A, like aren't big on taking pictures. They're all about their time. And, so it was great. Like I was able to stop at like every character because like nobody else was stopping, so that was nice to get a lot of pictures. But yeah, like the 5K and the 10K, sometimes like there's been years where I finish and I could still hear corrals starting just because, it takes so long. They do a wave start. So, you're finishing and like, there's still people who are just starting the race.
Right.
But the character lines can be especially for the 5K, the character lines can be very long. But it doesn't matter because the 5K, there's no time limit. But 10K as well, the character lines tend to be very long. So I also people who do dopey, probably do a couple pictures, 5K, 10K, but actually like later in the marathon, a lot of people by then are kind of over pictures and the lines are not very long. So you can easily get some pictures if, like I said, if you're doing well, you're ahead of pace, and then you can kind of stop later. Obviously certain characters are going to be longer than others. Like Mickey, the line for Mickey is always going to be long. Usually Mickey's Disney in the Magic Kingdom. He's usually by the Hall of Presidents, I think. They usually have a Mickey there. That line is always going to be long. The lines, if they have a princess out, usually they'll have a princess somewhere out in the Magic Kingdom. And they usually rotate, like it's Cinderella or it's Belle or it's, Snow White. The line for that is always going to be longer than some of the other characters. So if you want to stop for one of those, plan on, having time to do that.
I just want to say, it looks like you are in the middle of Africa or something with the plants in the back. And like
masks, yeah.
In like Tanzania.
We're going for that like losing a game of Jumanji aesthetic.
It's so cool. So thank you for taking the interview. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure this will be helpful to a lot of people who are wondering about the balloon ladies. And you guys, if you see us, either Lynn or myself, she's going to be doing dopey. I'll be there just for the marathon. But if you see us, say hello.
Yeah.
Don't be a stranger. Thanks, Lynn. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.